am Dr. Catalina. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm talking to you from Round Rock, Texas, Austin area. I'm here with my two friends. Like always, we're going to give you advice about how to enjoy the summer, few advice, health advice, and eating also advice. We can still enjoy a little road trip. We can still go to the beach if we keep the safety measures, wearing our masks, keeping distance from others. I think even during this coronavirus season, we can still do a couple of things. Don't you think, girls, that we can still enjoy the summer?
Yes, of course, Marta. I enjoy the summer always. I'm a very sun person. I love summer, even if it is too hot like it's here in Texas, but I really love it. So I'm Fer Candil from Paellas Tapas Amor. I'm a chef and a mother of 5 here in Round Rock, Texas too. And yes, we are gonna keep talking about summer, some advice about sunscreen and rash guards and many other precautions we have to take during the summer, especially if we have babies or toddlers. And we have here an expert and a mom who is giving us the experience every week about her 3 kids. So hi, Veronica, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Fer. Hi, Marta. I'm Vero, I'm mom to 3 kids, and well, I'm here to speak about all these interesting topics with Marta and Fer. And Marta is like this huge asset for this because she is the expert in all the topics. And we're so lucky to have you, Marta. Marta, my questions today are gonna be mainly about sunscreen. Now that clean cosmetics are such a, well, are becoming such a big thing between like young moms, what are the recommendations that you normally give to families that go to your office? Should we use mineral sunscreen on our babies, or is it okay if we use other chemical sunscreens?
Well, hello everybody. That's a very good question. And yes, don't forget the sunscreen. Over the years, we had always 2 kinds of sunscreens. One were the mineral, more natural, if you want, the mineral kind, which is the zinc oxide and the titanium oxide. And then we had other chemicals that block also the sun from the skin. And for many years, they've been used without anybody looking into, okay, are they toxic? Are they safe? Do they do anything other than blocking the sun? And I think all these questions got to the FDA that never wanted to get involved. And finally, the federal agency for drugs started to get into it and determined in preliminary studies that the chemical ones, especially the oxybenzone and the octinoxate, there are a list of 8 or 10 different chemicals, but I'm not going to name them all here to you. But what they determine is that yes, they can get absorbed, and yes, they can produce effects, negative effects in your body, especially at the hormonal level, like problems, alterations in breast development, growth, sperm production, fertility. But those were preliminary studies. So the FDA has been encouraging the manufacturer of these sunscreens to do their own research. They say, hey, go and do your studies, tell us, are these products, these chemicals safe? Do they get absorbed? How much? What effects do they have? How long do they last? But that never happened. Years went by and the FDA had to finally do their own studies. And what they came is to confirm the results that they had initially, that yes, they do get absorbed if the particles are smaller than 0.5 nanograms per milliliter. They do remain there for a while. The study, of course, some criticize it, saying, well, you know, these people, the subjects of the study, they had to reapply every 2 hours for days, and they had to apply over 75% of the body. But that's what the manufacturer tells you to do. And so I think is valid. What they saw is, yes, indeed, impact in growth, hormonal levels, sperm function, And of course, we also know that these chemicals are responsible for the effect in the coral in animals, in sea animals, right? And responsible for the lack of color of coral, that now is all gray everywhere. And so they now promoted, or the FDA recommended, even the AP recommends to use, especially in children, just the other type of mineral barriers, which is the zinc oxide and the titanium oxide. But when they try to put it in cosmetics, in makeup, in products to use in your face, it's very thick, it's difficult to spread, you leave areas that are not covered, and then it gives kind of like a whitish color to your skin that is not very attractive when you put it in makeup. And so to fix these, they broke these products into smaller parts, and they really promoted it a lot, these nanoparticles or sunscreens with nanoparticles. Well, and then the question is, wasn't the nanoparticles that gave us problems the first time, because they do get absorbed, and do the mineral ones get absorbed too? We still don't have the complete answer to that. We think that yes, once you break it into smaller parts, then it can get absorbed through the skin. We don't know what the long-term effect and for how long. We think zinc oxide can give you just the same effect that if you take a zinc supplement, which many people take because of to boost the immune system or because they have skin conditions. We don't know what the titanium oxide will produce. So I will just, with kids, go back to the common sense. We go back to keeping them in the shade, keeping the small babies at home, using clothing, avoid sun exposure between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and just use the mineral, the old-fashioned, the regular sunscreens with zinc oxide and titanium oxide. That would be my advice. What we see from our end, pediatricians, we see a lot of skin irritation caused by sunscreens, just especially in people with sensitive skin. So a lot of rashes, a lot of flare-ups of eczema. And in that case, you really have to find what works for your type of skin, and then don't move from there. Use always the same product. People with sensitive skin, women with sensitive skin, we know that when it comes to makeups, or once you use one that you know that brand and that particular type works for you, stay with that one. We have to apply the same to the sunscreens with kids with sensitive skin.
And do you think there is a difference, Marta, between the spray sunscreen than the cream? Because I really love, it's so easy to apply the spray, especially with kids, but I always use cream, because I thought the cream, I feel more covered, especially when it's to cover my kids. So I always use cream, but it's not, I'm not sure if it is okay or it's more recommended than the spray.
Well, it's a great idea, and you don't have to touch the skin. You just spray it. And now, this information I'm going to give you, I contrasted just with my coworkers. Basically, what we have seen is a lot of sunburns with people using the spray type. And I don't know if it's because you leave areas uncovered, but I'm talking about big burns.
Wow.
Or if it's a matter of maybe the propellant. My understanding is that in order to make it very fine, like a hairspray fine, you have to put some alcohol, some type of alcohol there. And maybe that burns the skin at the end. I don't know what it is, and I cannot tell you any scientific reasoning for that, but this is what I have observed over the last couple of years. And I tell my patients to stay away from the sprays because they seem to be a problem.
Wow, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So, Marta, for example, in my case, I'm kind of a big fan of rash guards. It's something that in Spain at the beginning, when they began to be used, people were like, "Oh my God, look at that child! He's covered from head to toe." But I think they're so useful because you apply sunscreen when you get there or half an hour earlier in the house, and then you kind of feel more relaxed because they are way more protected. So it's something I use in my kids, and I'm not sure how you doctors feel about people using those alternatives to sunscreen or those additional measures to sunscreen.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. And they started a few years ago this spandex nylon to wear underneath surfers, you know, underneath their suit, or divers, to avoid friction areas where the equipment or the suit itself was touching the skin. And then in some areas, they started using it alone without the big surfing suit, just because they saw that it's lighter and it's not as hot in very warm areas. And so, yes, it protects the skin. It blocks the sun. Some of them claim to have SPF of 50 and above. And I think it's a clear barrier, like clothing. So it's a piece of clothing, basically, one that proves that to block the sun. So I think it's a great idea. Now they make swimming suits for babies, for children, for, you know, for all ages of that material. And I think it's like for your kids, Veronica, the kids your age, that you're not going to keep them in the shade for more than a couple of minutes. And so if you want them to have fun, you have to have fun too. You may want to use, yes, a little sunscreen in exposed areas, and use one of these suits too.
And I think even the rash guards are not very friendly with the jellyfish, or the jellyfish don't like it because it's avoid the bites from the jellyfish and other mosquitoes or something, no, Marta? So it's helping to prevent.
Yes, yes, it does, depending on how thick or thin they are. But yeah, sometimes most of the lesions that we have from the jellyfish is just brushing. You know, the jellyfish goes by you, and just that touching of the tentacles alone produces a big rash. So if you have that part of the body covered, it may be a big help. With mosquitoes, the same thing. So yes, I think it's a good idea all around to use these items, these pieces of clothing.
Wow.
Marta, I have like, in kids the age of mine, there's something around going on that is way more visible in the summer. I'm speaking about Molluscum Contagiosum. I don't feel like when I was younger this was such a popular disease, but now I see it everywhere, and my kids suffered it last year. If you could please like explain us a little bit how it's passed from one person to another, which are the most likely places to get it, and also how the disease works, because I feel like sometimes when kids go through things that are very visible, there's like an adverse reaction from other people. And maybe if you explain to us how molluscum works, you bring awareness to families. Some people won't be like so weirded by kids who have like the little warts or things like that appear with molluscum.
Right. So yeah, very, very common in kids, age 1 to 10. That's when it tends to affect the most. And very prevalent. It produces these raised lesions with a little dimple in the middle. They are flesh color. They don't give you any symptoms. The itching comes from the fact that this virus loves people with sensitive skin, with atopic dermatitis, eczema, you know, the type of people that we were talking about before, that you have to find the right cream, the right soap, and then stick with it because they react to everything else. That's the type of skin that this molluscum virus loves. Now people are more and more familiar with it. They're getting more comfortable. So you take your child to the swimming pool and to the beach and has these lesions, and these mothers are looking at you like, okay, what are you bringing here? Is it contagious? What is it? And more now when you say, oh, it's molluscum, they relax because there's more information out there about it. And people know because they learn it or because they went through it that it's not a big deal. To me, the best way to deal with it is just leave it alone. It goes away in between 6 to 12 months, although we have cases where they stay there for a lot longer, but average is that, just a few months to a year. And the good way to preventing it is keep your skin healthy. If you have atopic dermatitis, if you have eczema, try to avoid flare-ups. If you know what makes it flare up, every time you use this perfume or this cream or this sunscreen or whatever chemical, avoid it. If you have a preference lotion that you put on the skin and makes you feel better, makes your skin moist and feel better, apply it twice a day. Keep your skin healthy. The virus doesn't like that. So the name of Molluscum Contagiosum is a little bit of misleading because yes, it is contagious and you get it from another person. You get it from touching or from towels or from showers, bathrooms, swimming pools. But if the virus doesn't like you, won't stay. You can be touching the molluscum lesions all you want. But if you don't have that right type of skin, the virus won't stay with you. And so that part of contagiosum makes people believe that, oh, the moment you look at it, you're going to get it. And it's not that easy.
So it's a selective virus.
Yes, it is a very...
It's so unfair. It's so unfair that the virus chooses people like me, as if it wasn't enough to have eczema and dermatitis. This virus likes me. It's like,
exactly. Oh yeah, it's like, you know, scabies and parasites, and people with that type of skin attracts this kind of
that's so unfair.
Yes. And yeah, the treatment is well, my recommendation would be to leave it alone. But if you choose to use like cryotherapy, cantharidin, any topical retinoids, freezing, there's a lot of laser, lots of aggressive treatments that the purpose is to just go lesion by lesion and kind of taking them out. What you leave there in many cases is an open skin, where now you had an intact, you started out with an intact skin, and now you have an open entry for bacteria. And I want to remember this case years ago, this mother who was tired of giving explanations of what this was, and decided to go to the dermatologist and demanded, okay, I want this out. So it was, I don't know what kind of treatment, but I think it was freezing. And then the child ended up touching those open wounds and ended up with a big staph infection. And especially now during coronavirus, we want to keep our defenses intact. And the skin is a big barrier, it's a good barrier that protects us. So leave it healthy, keep it intact. So leave it alone, molluscum, just leave it alone.
Wow. So would you say that mostly the families that go with the aggressive treatments are the ones whose kids have the lesions like in very exposed areas, like the face or the neck, or like yes, places where the kid may feel uncomfortable with, like places that are very visible? Are these the patients that go for the aggressive treatments?
Probably. So the number of lesions, how visible they are, what kind of comments they got from others, that's all a big deal. Now, luckily, more and more people are aware. We don't have that big stigma of the molluscum anymore because people know what it is. But yeah, especially the lesions, the virus by itself doesn't leave any scars. But if you start using, especially in the face, you start using very aggressive treatments, then you risk a scar. And some people form keloids. Remember, some people, when they heal with a little bump of the skin than the benefit of treating it. But yeah, you have all kinds of reasons for people to just demand to get it out.
There is special areas where the molluscum start on the kids on the body, or is just appear in the arms or in the legs? It's just curiosity, Marta.
Yeah, just in the trunk mainly, but it can be in any part of the body, mainly in the trunk, and also areas of friction attracts the virus. That's the reason why areas of eczema and areas of atopic dermatitis, because they are also stressed out areas of the skin. So the damage that the child may do to it after you get molluscum on top of your eczema flare-up, then you start scratching. Mm-hmm. And then you are gonna break the little bubbles. And then is when the infection may come. And so the skin healthy, keep the skin intact. Don't break the skin. Try to put moisturizers that your skin likes a couple of times a day, 3 times a day, I mean, as often as you need to, in order to keep the skin healthy and keep the kids from scratching the lesions.
Thank you, Marta, because I mean, it can get really long. Like my personal experience, at least, it has been pretty long, almost a year until all the lesions just went away. Fer, I love that last week Marta gave us so good ideas about what we should carry in our bag to the beach. So, well, I was thinking that maybe today you could give us some ideas about what to put in our bag when we have like a road trip or a picnic or things like that, like easy things that we can combine that we can eat anytime, nutritious for our kids. Well, tell us, because you always
I'm glad you're asking. Yes, because I love the idea too. Like Marta gave us the kit for medicines or just some remedies for the bites and allergies at the beach, or for when you have a trouble with the kids. And yes, I was thinking there has to be a bag with many healthy snacks or even food option for our kids, because in this time of the COVID-19, I think it's not a good idea to stop in any place or drive-through or fast food. And especially in my experience, when you stop it in any fast food place for eating, when you are in a road trip or in a long trip, usually the food is with more fat or not healthy fats. And the digestion is slowly and sometimes provoke vomiting for the kids, or they start feeling like a stomach ache or heavy digestion, you know. So yeah, this is my proposal. If can help anyone, I will be so glad. But I usually, my experience, when I prepare, especially if it is a road trip in summer, I like always to bring different bags with different snacks, like baby carrots. If you don't have baby carrots, you can use regular carrot, just peel it and wash very well and put in a Ziploc. And also cherries, the same, just wash and ready to eat. And tomato cherries is another option. And even apples, the smallest one. The big ones, you don't want to go or fall to the floor on the car or something. So it's best if they are smaller. And even you can remove the seeds if you want. If you do that, don't forget to add some drops of lemon juice to be sure the apples are not rusting during this long time on the root. And I like in a Tupperware to prepare the night before some boiled potatoes and boiled eggs. So I just peel the potatoes, cut in thick slices, and peel the eggs. I don't cut the eggs, and just put in a Tupperware. And also, I always like to bring some jar with olives and another jar with tuna. Could be with water or in olive oil. I'm the olive oil person, so I always try to bring with olive oil. And I prepare the recipe we talked last week about the chicken nuggets. It's perfect for that, or bring to a road trip. So you can bake in the oven the night before, or you can make some hamburgers, simple ones. You don't have to be a fancy hamburgers, just a simple hamburgers. Keep on the fridge overnight, and before you are leaving home, just put in the microwave a couple minutes to warm them, and don't put in the cooler. Just leave in a bag in the car at room temperature, and they will be perfect the time you are gonna eat lunch. So it's another option. And of course, some buns for the hamburger. I prefer hamburger buns than a bread sandwich, because I don't know why the bread sandwich always are in the bottom of the car, and when you are gonna use, they lost their shape and they look ugly, and the kids usually don't like it. Like, oh, I don't like it, it's smash or something like that. So hamburger buns are more practical. And also a little bottle of vinaigrette. I like to prepare with olive oil, lemon juice, or vinegar and salt. So if you don't like to use mayo or ketchup during the trip, like you can bring two bottles of that. You just put a little drops of vinaigrette in your van and just stuff with hamburger or whatever you like it. And also cheese. I always like to have manchego cheese cut in squares or slices, and charcuterie. I like salami, chorizo, prosciutto, like dry cured charcuterie, better than forest ham or something like that. I don't like to bring that during the road trip. It's more delicate, need more low temperature, more cool. So I think it's much better if you use like prosciutto or dry cured charcuterie. Also, don't forget to bring plastic silverware, paper plates, napkins, lot of water bottles, and of course, your mask. It's COVID-19 times, so everyone has to bring on their back the mask. Yes, in case, even if you are in a picnic area or in a rest area, probably there are other families, other people. There are some like they are very quiet, very peaceful places, but others, depends on your route, is they are very crowded. So yes, take care and be safe. Keep the distance and everything. But I think with these options, you have protein, you have veggies, you have fruits, and probably your kids are more quiet and eat, of course, much better during the trip than if you give them a lot of sugar or artificial sugar. Remember, the sugar keep the kids very active, and it's not a good idea when they have to stay in the car 5 hours or 4 hours. So I think it's a great options, and I hope everyone like it.
These are awesome ideas, especially the fact that, as you said, if we give too much sugar during a trip, we may go crazy. It's such a small space. We don't want our kids overexcited. We want them like just to be peaceful and patient. Exactly. So thank you so much for those options. Thank you, Fer.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Marta.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, see you next week.
You
give us a like
thank
and follow us.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye girls.
Bye.
Take care, stay safe.